we're gonna get into it. So again, and I mean a huge shout out to supporters. Appreciate all you guys. Now, like I said, I'm going to break this up into 4 parts. Part 1 is, and again, each of them I'm just going to take some time, but I think it was like this news item was so big, I had to organize it a little bit for myself. So part 1 is going to just be about background. What's happened up until this point, kind of just a little overview. The second part will be about the actual news that dropped yesterday. What was that? The third part I'm going to talk about is the community response in the minutes and hours after, what was unfolding, what were the hot takes. And then in the fourth part, we're going to talk about some haters because I think that they are an important part of this story, an important part for us to understand. Like going into this, I think what's happened over the last 24 hours has really reminded, HBARbarians, if you will, that no matter how good the Hedera technology is, no matter how strong the governing council is, no matter how great the use case is, those will not protect us from all of the trials and tribulations that other networks have experienced on their way to the top 5, right? We got a long way ahead of us, but what I'm seeing right now makes me super bullish. Seeing a community galvanize together. I'm seeing competitors in the Hedera space kind of almost like lock arms a bit, and it's great to see. And so let's talk about some background of this news. So let's kind of put ourselves in our shoes of before this news happened. It's Monday. Hey, HBAR is at 8 cents. What's going on? What's new? So as a lot of folks will recall, on March 28th, on episode, I guess it was 118 or 117 of the Hashgraph Enthusiasts show, I shared that I had been contacted by a very reputable insider source in the Hedera ecosystem with knowledge of these types of things. And I mentioned that, and I'd encourage people to go back and listen to that episode, but it had been shared to me by this source that there would be news substantial enough in April to, drive price and really change Hedera's positioning in the industry, and also hinting to a, monster use case in Q3. So those are the things shared with me. And looking at what's happened over, again, the last 24 hours, I think that this BlackRock news item is the news item that the source was referring to. Again, the details weren't shared with me at the time, but I think this is what the source was referring to. I don't know what else they would be referring to. Checks all the boxes. It's big, drives price, changes Hedera's positioning in the ecosystem. So I think this checks the boxes. So I think we can safely say that the big and to be fair as well, there's been many other big news items this month as well, but I really think this is the big one. So I think that we can all safely assume case closed on the April rumors. And I would say that, the source has shown its credibility. And I'll continue, following the other information that the source shared with me previously and kind of keeping up with that. But so BlackRock has $14 trillion worth of assets under management. They're often, let's say, memed on by, let's say, owning the world. A lot of people joke and they say, well, BlackRock's already on the governing council. They own all the companies on the governing council and this and that. And we know that there's much more nuance to that. It's not necessarily true, but that's the meme about BlackRock, just speaking to, the size of BlackRock. BlackRock is massive. You could say that BlackRock owns one of the biggest slices of pie of America and the rest of the world. $14 trillion of assets under management. Now, BlackRock has dipped their toes into crypto as we've learned over the last year. And something that I think comes to people's mind with this news story may be, BlackRock tokenizing Bitcoin ETFs or maybe Ethereum ETFs. And that's exciting. And some people might go, oh, this Hedera news, it's similar. And it's actually not. It's actually different. And just a quick explainer on this. So When BlackRock and these other institutions provide Bitcoin ETFs, what that's about is it's about utilizing traditional finance to interface with crypto, right? So purchasing a traditional financial instrument like a electronic or exchange traded fund, an ETF, to get into Bitcoin or get into Ethereum through traditional finance. What this story is, what the BlackRock Hedera story is it's about interfacing with crypto to use traditional finance assets, right? So it's a traditional money market fund, tokenized, and using DLT, right? Using this technology to interface with it. So it's different. It's flipped on its head. It's not, let's use traditional finance to interface with crypto. It's like, let's use crypto to interface with traditional finance. So this is the two approaches when Larry Fink talks about the future of finance as tokenization. These are those kinds of, two things we start seeing, but really it's this laneway, the stuff happening with Hedera, that really is what that tokenization stuff is all about. And BlackRock isn't the first to tokenize real world assets on Hedera. And I think that's something else that's really important for people to keep in mind. This news story isn't about, hey, real world assets have been tokenized on Hedera. That's not what this news story is about. What this news story is, hey, BlackRock is the next one to do it. So who's done it previously? There's a few. I'll just mention a quick few. So there's companies like Red Swan that is tokenizing real estate on Hedera, and they have they speak to a multi-billion-dollar market that they want to tokenize. And they have tokenized homes on Hedera. One recent project they did that was really important is they fractionalized tokenized ownership in a home, which was very interesting. Also, Toko is a subsidiary of DLA Piper. DLA Piper is a governing council member. They have also tokenized real estate. I believe that in 2021, they tokenized $500 million worth of real world assets on Hedera. And then, we had Aberdeen, right? Massive institution. They have $600 billion of assets under management. They tokenized a $16 billion money market fund on Hedera. And Aberdeen is also a Hedera governing council member. And interestingly, that money market fund was tokenized through Archax, right? Archax or Archax is going to come up in this story quite a bit, but Aberdeen tokenized $16 billion in money market funds as well. So right out the gate, right, you've got tens of billions of dollars of real world assets already tokenized on Hedera. They have been the whole time, right? And you get the news story about BlackRock. And why the BlackRock news story is so different is literally just the name BlackRock, right? Everybody's talking about BlackRock and crypto right now. They've got a lot of buzz with the Bitcoin ETF. So this is the narrative part of crypto that's so important, right? The logical, objective part of your brain goes, well, Aberdeen tokenized the $16 billion fund, BlackRock tokenized the $25 billion fund, apples and oranges, just another announcement similar to Aberdeen. But it's just not. It's a narrative in crypto. And it's so clear how that plays out, especially seeing the impact it has on price. And again, CEO of BlackRock being very public about the fact that he believes tokenization is the future for investing, Larry Fink. So a little bit more background. I think arguably one of the most important players in this news story is Archax. So Archax is a London-based digital asset exchange, brokerage, and custodian primarily targeting institutional investors. So what that means is basically Archax is a company that will work with companies like Aberdeen and BlackRock that own a bunch of stuff to pack it up and make it accessible, right? These massive institutions like BlackRock and Aberdeen, they're going to work with all sorts of different partners to take all these different types of products they have and financial assets they have and make them accessible. Archax is one of these, and Archax happens to choose Hedera as a network for some of these products. And the reason Archax has chosen Hedera is because it makes them really performant and it allows them to provide a better service to clients like BlackRock. It's that simple. There are many, many companies like Archax out there that work with traditional finance companies and institutions to tokenize funds on many, many networks, whether they're blockchain or not. And I don't know if Archax also tokenizes funds on other networks, but Archax as a company, their job is to make these assets available to people to invest in and create those mechanisms. And for BlackRock, they said, what we need for this is we need to utilize Hedera. That's going to generate the best result for BlackRock, for their customers, and for our client, BlackRock. Like it's just technology choices, collaborating together and getting something out to market and working with their client, BlackRock, to make sure that that's done properly. And like any part of a technology stack, Hedera is just part of that technology stack. And so it doesn't matter how much you kind of split hairs on that, right? News item, BlackRock money market fund tokenized on Hedera. That's the news. So that's really exciting. So back to Archax. Archax founded in 2018. The interesting thing about Archax is recognized as the first digital securities exchange regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in London, emphasizing compliance and security. That's something very important here. What that accreditation gives BlackRock is the ability to have a very robust and secure financial product, tokenized financial product. Probably one of the reasons BlackRock chose Archax, right? It's all about making choices. It's BlackRock saying we want to choose Archax. They've got the juice we need, and that's that. Now, the actual infrastructure for Archax, they utilize technologies like Medico's digital asset custody on IBM Cloud, and they're all about security, efficiency, all sorts of different asset types, including digital securities and cryptocurrencies. Their offers range from including trading, custody, brokerage of digital assets. And they've also expanded offerings to over-the-counter desk and all that kind of stuff. Now, they raised $36.5 million in funding to support operations and expansion. So Archax is a well-funded operation at this point. And they're headquartered in London. So that's Archax. And again, they're the company that's charged with making these financial products from folks like BlackRock and Aberdeen available and usable. And basically what they're doing is they're helping solve the trust and safety concerns in the digital money world, right? That's what they're focusing on, is tackling the trust and safety. So the other player in this that I think got overshadowed a little bit, and I want to kind of throw them some flowers, is Onera. So Onera is the third name. So this announcement really was kind of like BlackRock, Archax, Onera. So who is Onera? Well, Onera is building infrastructure for global digital securities market using its FinP2P protocol. So FIN-P2P. So obviously a peer-to-peer financial protocol. And their partnerships, they collaborate. So here's what they raised $20 million in Series A's funding from major investors, including JP Morgan and LRC Group. And basically what their job is that connector, right? They're connecting various financial systems to make trading digital securities like stocks and bonds more efficient and accessible globally. So here's those three key pieces right there, right? The key piece is BlackRock, which has these things people want, Archax, which has the ability to tokenize those things on a network like Hedera, and then Onera, which facilitates the transactions through the FinP2P protocol. So those are the players. That's a bit of background. And already, you kind of start to see a bit of a picture here. So let's talk about the actual news drop. What happened? What was the news? So as a lot of people kind of saw, the HBAR Foundation, which is a grant-giving organization in the Hedera ecosystem, CEO is Shane. And basically, they announced that real world asset history has been made. And what they meant by that was BlackRock's ICS US Treasury Money Market Fund is tokenized on Hedera with Archax and Onera. And that was the news. And so people kind of went, okay, I see the BlackRock logo. What does this mean? Because again, in crypto, when you see the BlackRock logo, people start to lose their minds a little bit. So the news in the article, basically, and I'll just kind of read it for you a bit here. And I've just kind of rewritten a couple things. So Archax, we know all about Archax. They've announced an expansion in their offerings of tokenized money market funds. They've partnered with the HBAR Foundation to include the BlackRock ICS US Treasury Money Market Fund. So we'll take a look at that in a minute, but that's basically just a basket of assets that BlackRock assembles into a fund. It's a money market. Adding to their previous offerings. Money market funds are like savings accounts that invest in short-term debt, right? So they can provide good returns and are considered safer when compared with other investments. And money market funds have been very interesting right now, higher yields. So this news story is also interesting because, you know, the actual financial product that's being tokenized is pretty hot right now. With high interest rates, currently money market funds can be a good way for investors to get more out of their cash. Archax uses technology to create a secondary market for these tokenized money market funds, making it possible for investors to quickly trade shares of these funds any time of day. So not restricted to whenever the market's open. This is a 24-hour market. And it's also going to be able to help, people potentially use these tokens for like collateral and different stuff like that. It's all very exciting. The CEO of Archax emphasized the importance of offering a variety of money market funds to meet different investment needs. The partnership with Onera is crucial. So that right there, basically what the CEO of Archax is saying is like, listen, we got to have a variety of products people are looking for and that people need. And this particular fund from BlackRock is a product we think people will want to have. And so that's what's very exciting here. So as we said, Onera's technology facilitates transactions in tokenized money market funds for a wide range of service providers. And so it was really the HBAR Foundation that brought these parties together. And so there is another piece of this news that cannot be overlooked that I think is when you look at the HBAR Foundation's tweet and they're like, a historic moment, what they're talking about is also a particular transaction that's detailed in this story. So this transaction involved the purchase of tokenized shares of this BlackRock ICS US Treasury Money Market Fund. It was notably the first multi-million-dollar deal of its kind. So rewind. And I think this is like an aspect of this that has been lost on a few people and has not been a part of the conversation that I think should have been. Not only has this fund been tokenized, it has been transacted. There's been a multi-million-dollar transaction of this fund, and it was facilitated using the Onera FinP2P digital asset network in collaboration with the HBAR Foundation. This will be an actively traded fund, right? These regular investors will be actively trading this fund. That trading will be happening on the Hedera network. And really, really, I want to put an emphasis on this and make it really, really clear before we dive into the rest of it is the Archax CEO, Hedera leadership, HBAR Foundation leadership, various news sources have all confirmed first person that BlackRock is well aware of Hedera, that Archax is tokenizing their fund on Hedera, and BlackRock themselves approved the press release and announcement surrounding this. This is direct communication, awareness, and involvement from BlackRock. This is not a drill. And that's just what the fact is. And I think that this news can feel too good to be true sometimes, but the reality is that a BlackRock money market fund is on Hedera being transacted, and BlackRock is aware. This isn't something that Archax would do without the express permission of their client, BlackRock. And furthermore, I mean, I think that there's more to this story. I don't think that this is the end to the story. I don't think this is a matter of, before we dive into the community response, just my initial take is kind of like, this just kind of feels like the start of something bigger. This doesn't feel like, the big moment to me. Although this, by definition does feel like the big moment, or maybe it is the big moment. There's so many crazy things happening right now in Hedera. I truly think that kind of on the theme we've been talking about over the week is we do need to think bigger. Even when big things like this happen in this ecosystem, I think that, through a really hard bear market, through some really tough times, the Hedera community has become, very much so calloused in a way, which had to happen. I mean, it's been really tough, but I think that some of those patterns are not going to serve us well. I really think we need to think big about this kind of stuff, especially when we have a big news item like this, right? We really got to think big. And I want to share some of that, but real quick, this is interesting. I wanted to take a look at the actual fund. What, like, people are talking about, like, this BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera, but like, let's look at what the actual fund is. I want to take you guys on Twitter Spaces with me, but I have this shitty camera angle. But for those watching the recording, and I'll be posting this later today. I usually post recordings of this show the day after, but too hyped today. So let's take a look at this. So this is the BlackRock website. This is the actual fund on Hedera. And this is just a regular, an ETF would look the same. You have different you have a risk indicator. You have some holdings. You have some historic returns. You got some different facts, some fees, all those different types of things, fund ratings, then the holdings of the fund, right? Nothing fun here. It's just, treasuries and all these different things, right? So, one of the basket of assets, and this is, a bunch of treasuries and stuff. So this is the page. This is the actual fund, right? So if people are curious about, like, what is this fund from BlackRock? This is what it is. And that was the news. So that was the news that hit. And I think that people's initial reaction was, again, I think based off of what we've seen in the cryptocurrency space and also what we've experienced in Hedera over the last little bit, over the tough period, I think the initial reaction was a little bit too good to be true. Maybe also very excited. And I think that in the minutes following it, very slowly, I started to see people come around to the fact that this was very, very real, and that this was, this truly was, an all substance, no hype moment. And the hype was now on the community. That was the community's job. So right out the gate, one thing that was that was so good to see that I think needs to be highlighted, just as a general theme before we dive into part 3, which is the community responses. And this is a fresh thing. As the news came out, as the community had questions, in the minutes and hours following the announcement, in real time, representatives from Hedera, from Swirlds Labs, from the HBAR Foundation were responding to community questions in real time, providing the community information. And that information continued to spread quickly. And that's something that I don't think we've seen happen before. And I think that with a huge announcement like this and with the amount of resistance that it comes up against, I think that without that coordination, without that transparency, without that fire from the hip communication from Hedera, Swirlds, and the foundation, we'd be in a much worse place right now with this announcement, with all the different FUD and different things around it. I think because so early on, that type of communication was so proactive inside the community, is just incredible. I think that in the past, a key criticism of Hedera, the HBAR Foundation, Swirlds, etc., is the community feeling out of the loop, right? I think that that's been a key criticism, is the community not necessarily feeling like they're part of the inside loop, or feeling like they're asking questions and not getting responses. That's been a key criticism. Not this time around. All I saw was very fast information sharing, really keeping things in the loop as best they can. And so I want to give, the Hedera, the foundation, Swirlds Labs, all those folks. I mean, bravo. I don't think this is an easy thing for any network to do when you have news like this that comes up against resistance, like we'll talk about. But I think that great, fantastic job, especially on the rapid communication with the community. I think that was just absolutely critical, absolutely critical. So let's dive into this. The community response, what's going on? So news drops, everybody takes a bit of a breather. People start posting takes, and I want to talk about their takes. I wish, again, I could share them on video with the spaces, but definitely watch the recording. But I want to share a few things. So my first take was just one thing I will say about the Hedera community. And again, this is just, I believe, patterns we have to get over, is sometimes I feel like we always want to get to the bottom of stuff. And I think there's a time and a place for sure. And, I talk about how important narrative is in crypto, and like when you've got a great news story like this, at least in our community, we have to remember that, we're not going to be short on critics. We're not going to be short on, debate. We don't need any extra. It's really important for the community's initial response to really express that euphoria, because when you have big news stories like this, when you have big price action like this, people want to come join the party. People from other networks want to check out what's going on. They want to be a part of the party. And if they arrive and all they see is HBARbarians talking at each other about the semantics of this announcement and what's true and what's not true, and it's boring. It's like, who wants to be a part of that? So that's something that I think there's a little bit of that. I think we'll get over that. I think that's just, it's been so hard on people over the bear market. So, but I think that largely it was really good to see people memeing, all that kind of stuff. Again, the headline here is a BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera. That's what it is. My tweet was basically, to Hedera people asking, but is BlackRock actually involved? Do they know about Hedera? That was, I just saw people saying that after the announcement, like, well, do they actually know about Hedera? It's like, well, if you think about it, yeah, they own the fund, so of course they're going to know about Hedera. And furthermore, Zepsi from the HBAR Foundation made it clear. And again, this comes from direct one-on-one communication with BlackRock, right? BlackRock, approved this announcement. They approved this information. They're communicating directly with these folks at the foundation and all that kind of stuff. So yes, BlackRock knows about Hedera, right? Yes, that is the case. Is BlackRock going to tweet about Hedera? No, they're not. I mean, again, with context, BlackRock has a product. They need help publishing into a marketplace to make it accessible in an innovative way. They've gone to a company that uses Hedera. The news story is now this BlackRock fund is tokenized on Hedera. Groundbreaking. Does BlackRock tweet about all of the different people they work with to publish their funds on marketplaces or whatever? No. Like, does an enterprise, when they launch a product, mention, we're using Oracle databases and we're using it's like, what people care about is the product. Is it fast? Is it efficient? Is it carbon friendly? Is it secure? That's all BlackRock cares about. That's all Archax cares about. That's what Hedera does. And it goes to what Lehman, like for all of the kind of HBARbarians out there that are, saying these things, it's like Lehman literally said, part of the goal here is like people will be using Hedera without even realizing it. It just matters what revenue and value these things bring to the network. That's what really matters here. And the headlines and the logos and brand names, those are all narrative, and they're so important. And we got to ride that wave. Brady from Bonzo Finance, also ex-Swirlds, shared his thoughts. He said in response to somebody, I think the tweet was deleted, but of course, it's not BlackRock directly. It's through partnership with these real world asset tokenization orgs like Archax Crypto and Securitize on Ethereum. So again, Brady, to that point, it's like we have to really understand like what the news is here, what the headline is here. Also, too, a really important thing, Christian Hasker, Swirlds Labs, tweeted out, "We had to wait for BlackRock to sign off to include them in the release. So yes, they know about Hedera. So it's clear that Swirlds Labs, HBAR Foundation, Hedera, all in communication with BlackRock." Also, too, some other community takes. HBAR to the Moon shares trillions of dollars are going to flow into Hedera just from this BlackRock partnership. So as we've known that this isn't, I think this is a little bit of maybe what some of these, haters will refer to as, this is not a partnership. This isn't a partnership with BlackRock. This is a collaboration. This is a regular old joint effort to publish a fund on a market. And the news that it's, the tech stack is on Hedera. So I do agree. We're definitely going to see $1 bazillion flow into Hedera, but this is not a partnership. But I love you, HBAR to the Moon. Appreciate you. This is a good example too of like this kind of stuff. A great example is if an HBARbarian sees this, like what's my response to HBAR to the Moon's tweet? Am I going to be like, well, actually, it's not a partnership. Actually, it is, that's someone else's job. It's very clear that other people are up for that task. I think that HBARbarians, I think that there are definitely times to criticize and get to the bottom of stuff and this and that. But like in the heat of the moment, when stuff's moving fast and there's a narrative, it's like, if there's something about grammar or semantics or wording or whatever, it's like, I guarantee you other people will take care of it and levy that criticism. So the fund is valued at, $25 billion. Someone else tweeted that out. And then we saw, of course, some influencers tweeting it out, right? We saw Crypto Mason tweet it out. We also saw Wendy O tweet it out. So these are like the, love them or hate them. These are the kind of, Pokemon of crypto influencers, or maybe Digimon. I don't know. But, Wendy O, 375,000 followers. So like these are some heavy hitters sharing this kind of stuff. So not only was it, grabbing the attention of just regular folks, like this was something that was grabbing the attention of crypto influencers. And that's where this starts to transform just from headline to actual narrative. Also, HBAR to the Moon tweets, "Do you think BlackRock could become a Hedera council member?" I think there's a really high chance. Now, do I think BlackRock could become a Hedera governing council member? I don't know. I mean, is there a higher chance now than before? Sure. Does BlackRock meet all the requirements to be on the Hedera governing council? I'd say so. And does BlackRock have an interest in, governing and, managing an L1 enterprise network? I'd say probably. So, how do I feel about that? I think that there are definitely mixed feelings about BlackRock, but I think from a narrative standpoint, BlackRock joining the governing council, I can't say that wouldn't grab eyeballs. Also too, this is worth mentioning too. GM tweets out, "This is not the standard crypto partnership or marketing agreement. This is full-fledged BlackRock putting their money on the line and taking a huge step forward with Hedera." I'd say that again, talking about nuance, sentiment of that on the money. And I think that when you say BlackRock putting their money on the line, I think that what can be inferred from that is by working with Archax to tokenize this fund on Hedera, BlackRock is working with a company doing something very innovative and cutting edge on a relatively new L1, which is incredibly risky for a well-established financial institution like BlackRock. And so the amount of risk that BlackRock is taking with this really speaks to the gravity of what's happening here. So I think that that's my takeaway from that. Credible Crypto shares a tweet. I think that this, like, if we really want to have a mic drop moment on this news, I think that Credible Crypto can kind of own that mic drop moment. He said, BlackRock has officially launched tokenized funds on 2 networks in the space thus far, Ethereum and Hedera. Have I got that right? I mean, I don't know what more you can say to that. And again, when you look at BlackRock tokenizing on Ethereum, it's a similar thing. They use a company like Archax, and it's the same process, right? It's the exact same type of thing. All that matters is the assets are tokenized on Ethereum. All that matters is the assets are tokenized on Hedera. That's the news story. Shane tweets out, CEO of the foundation, the HBAR Foundation, BlackRock has tokenized one of their money market funds on Hedera. Hopefully you've been paying attention. Again, using that word partnership. I mean, maybe it is a partnership. This is the CEO of the HBAR Foundation. I don't know. And to be honest, again, it's like, pick your word. It's like partnership, collaboration, working together, utilizing, like it's like, I find that a lot of times criticisms in crypto comes down to semantics, and it's like, whatever. Is it there? Cool. Also too, CEO and co-founder of Constellation Network, Dag, tweets out, watching Hedera build momentum with BlackRock is so incredibly valuable for the space and adjacent Web3 ecosystem as it builds more confidence across retail institutions. Great job. That kind of stuff is what makes this industry grow. Like, that tweet right there is a great example of like how you do it. Like that's what's up. That's, I think, what the Hedera community tries to do for other networks. A win for one is a win for everybody in this space at this point. So it's great to see the CEO of DAG just express support like that, because it just brings people together, right? Little actions like that go a long way. Let me see here. Also, worth mentioning too, I mean, there's a shout out. People were giving some shout outs to Aberdeen. I mean, it was always worth mentioning, Aberdeen, a governing council member, the first one to do these tokenized money market funds. Always good to, give a shout out to some real ones. It was good to see too, like there was also other big crypto focused news accounts and update accounts grabbing onto this news, like Real World Asset Watch List, 230,000 followers, right? Shares another milestone for Real World Assets. Hedera just brought the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, on chain. So there you go. I think that's fantastic. And then we got the big boys. So this is a big one. And these things are very important. So Altcoin Daily, at Altcoin Daily IO, is an account with 1.5 million followers, and very prominent. And this is, again, a great example. BlackRock tokenizes money market fund on Hedera. HBAR soars. A picture of the Hedera logo, a picture of Larry Fink. Like, again, it doesn't get more, like, you look at this objectively and you go, does this represent the news story? I don't know. Not really. Is Larry Fink, buying HBAR right now? I don't know. But it's narrative, right? That's what this is about. You have to create these types of narratives. It's just the way that it is. This is the space. This has 6,200 likes and 1,000 reposts. So again, this is not something that is a small announcement. This is being picked up by the majors. And my Twitter question to the community, let me see if I can actually open this up. I'm going to move this to. So I asked the Hedera community, and I haven't even read these yet. So fair warning, I have no idea what I'm gonna see. I asked the Hedera community, what do you think the BlackRock news means for the Hedera ecosystem? What could be next? That's what I asked the Hedera community. So let's see what the Hedera community says. Again, I haven't taken a look at this. So, CVO Parabolic HBAR says enterprises will want to join the council more rapidly. I could see that. I mean, again, this comes down to narrative, right? If there's a narrative out there that creates an environment in which other enterprises want to be a part of that, this could get other enterprises off the sidelines, right? An analogy I use quite often is, it's like people are standing in the side of a pool waiting to jump in. They don't know if the water's cold. They're just kind of waiting to see. Once that first person jumps in, everyone's going to kind of jump in. And BlackRock is a big one. So BlackRock dipping their toes says a lot. So, who knows? Tata says GC. Let me see here. Someone says HBAR to $1. Coinman, the HBAR Barian, says it puts Hedera front and center of real world asset tokenization. I mean, that right there, that's 100% it. All of their clients and downstream partners and vendors will need to adopt their standards in order to interact with these new financial instruments, probably speaking more about Archax. Manon Harmon, the brother of Mance Harmon, co-founder of Hedera, comments on my Twitter post. More TPS, more use cases, more eyes on Hedera, more council members, more. Dig it. Dirty Water Degen says absolute HBAR dominance. Says that RuPaul is going to second guess Solana. Raul Paul. Hedera ecosystem tokens start moving. Signals altcoin season. Okay. Some good stuff. A lot of people saying BlackRock joining the governing council, which is interesting. I'm actually kind of surprised, but I mean, maybe it's expected. Car for Coin says it doesn't get any bigger than BlackRock tokenizing Hedera. And again, I think that's what it's about. It's like, I think that it can get bigger. Like, I think that's the other thing is we really have to think big about this stuff. Unlocking true potential. Yeah, some good takes here. I mean, a lot of people talking about governing council. I think literally a lot of these responses to my tweet are about the governing council. I'm actually surprised at the consensus in the Hedera community of, the desire for BlackRock to join the council. Who knows? We'll have to see. So we talked about a little bit of background on BlackRock, Archax, Onera, what it all means, what's going on. We talked about the initial news, what that story was, what it's all about. We talked about the community response in the minutes and hours leading after the initial news drop. And then today I woke up and I just saw people just freaking out about an article and post from Cointelegraph and also CoinDesk. And part of me was surprised, and then a part of me was also not surprised. And we're going to unpack this, but I think that the best way to take a dive into this is a tweet that, where is it? HBAR Bulls shared this, and it's a really good way to give some background on this. So, or actually, no, what I'll do is I'll share that after. So, and again, this is still unfolding. This is still an unfolding story. So I woke up, article from Cointelegraph and CoinDesk. And basically it was very shocking. What happened was CoinDesk and Cointelegraph published articles respectively that were basically HBAR soars due to misunderstood announcement, and HBAR then goes down. And that was kind of the gist of it. And we have these hit pieces, and it's unfortunate to see, because I think that what it shows us is that kind of like the crypto cartel is real. And it's unfortunate because, and let me kind of share this original tweet. I think this will kind of set the stage here. So Cointelegraph shares on X, the HBAR token pumped 96% on misinterpreted news that BlackRock tokenized its money market fund on Hedera when it did not. And so that was really alarming to see. And also too, again, in CoinDesk, similar article published, just about, a misinterpretation of an announcement and all these different types of things. And so it really started like this war on X between Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, basically just kind of going, why publish these articles? Because A, they're not true. And B, it just makes CoinDesk and Cointelegraph come across as very like untrustworthy. And a lot of people have shared their kind of points on that either way. And you kind of go, well, what started this? What was their intention for this? Why did they publish these articles? What was their source for this information? And you can trace it back to a post by Chris O, which is the co-founder of the Cardano Ghost Fund, a risk taker, and a dad in his bio. And this was just really crazy to read. So this is obviously a Cardano maxi. No hate to the Cardano folks. Cardano Charles, he just mentioned that he likes Hedera people again and that everything's good. So, I mean, maybe it's not anymore. Maybe that was short-lived, but I mean, like, we'll see what happens. But Chris O says, to be clear, BlackRock, the actual institution, did not select HBAR for tokenizing a fund of theirs. BlackRock had no involvement whatsoever and has no connection to the protocol. What did happen was an HBAR project through the secondary market tokenized shares of a BlackRock fund, much like I can buy a Rolex, take a pic, and post it on my X account. It doesn't mean Rolex partnered with me. These kinds of misleading marketing pump my token pieces are gross. So, don't be a sucker. So it's one of these things where not only a lot of this language, again, like misinterpreted and these types of things, like it felt like all the articles, the language was just based off of this tweet. And this tweet was referenced in a lot of those articles. And I just find it very weird because not only is this tweet like so beyond false, it comes across as somebody who is genuinely upset, right? It comes across as somebody who's genuinely upset about this news. And that's, I guess, just kind of the unfortunate thing here is like, it turns out that this news upsets a lot of people. It's not surprising, but it's just crazy to see how many people it upsets. Now, what does that mean for Hedera? Well, what it means is that, Hedera poses a threat. I've talked about this on the show before. And I mean, again, preface this, so many other great networks out there. Hedera has learned so much from other networks. We have so many cross-chain people here. It's amazing. I'm talking just more specifically on this aspect of it. But Hedera is becoming a threat. And I talk about the fact that Hedera is a disruptive technology. Hashgraph is a disruptive technology. And Archax is a good example of this. Archax is a company that has clients like BlackRock, like Aberdeen, that tokenize their funds. Archax says, well, there are other firms like us that offer these same services that are tokenizing assets. We need to be much more competitive and offer a better product. So to do that, they've made a choice to use Hedera. Archax deems that Hedera Hashgraph is a better technology to tokenize on. And in BlackRock's task to find a partner to work with to accomplish this for their fund, they chose Archax, most likely because Archax was able to deliver the most value to BlackRock in this operation. It's that simple. It's not about BlackRock choosing Hedera or BlackRock buying HBAR or BlackRock tweeting about. It's not about that at all. It's about these real world assets being tokenized on Hedera. That's what it's about, right? So that's what's wrong with this tweet, is it misses the point entirely, right? This tweet is null and void because the assets are tokenized and the transaction's done. So the thing here is that it does come across as someone who's just definitely upset and triggered by this news. And it's unfortunate that they've got, well, actually they don't have a lot of followers. Well, then why is, okay, this further blows my mind about CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. I thought they were referencing a guy that had like 500,000 followers or something. This guy has 11K followers. Anyways, so that's one thing. And of course, everybody like just starts piling on this guy. And I think that it's just very interesting to see, this kind of stuff unfold, and he's at it again. But the HBAR bull responds, it's just, again, I think that's what this boils down to. Now continuing on here, where are we going from here? What's the rebuttal to this, right? So the accusation is from Cointelegraph and CoinDesk and from this individual is it's not a partnership. It's not this, it's not that. We obviously understand that it's, a lot of those criticisms levied are just, they don't hold in the air, but they're out there. So people have responded. And let's take a look here. So King Solomon tweets this out, and I think that this is a pretty decent take. King Solomon, a friend of the show, tweets out, how much do you think Cointelegraph charges per hit piece? 15K? Less if there's already a friendship. Even less if there's ties to certain ecosystems. It's like ambulance chasing. And it's funny because the Cointelegraph tweet that he's retweeted is deleted. And that was another interesting element of this, was Cointelegraph was tweeting out this article, right? Again, this hit piece. They were tweeting it out. Then they were deleting the tweet, tweeting it out again, deleting it, and then tweeting it out again, which was crazy to see. And I believe that the purposes of that is to exhaust the Hedera community, to leave less and less negative comments, get rid of the negative comments that had been left, and leave it appearing as though, it doesn't have as much resistance as it does. They're playing games. It's very, very weird. I mean, my initial response to it was oh, it's misinformation, or, oh, wires are crossed, or, oh, it's just pulling the trigger on some criticism or whatever. I just chalked it up to maybe some stuff like that. But no, it's, if Cointelegraph and CoinDesk weren't actively trying to suppress the growth of the Hedera network, would they be doing anything differently? Probably not. HBAR Bull also shares a post on this that I think is very illuminating. History rhymes, HBAR Bull says. He says, you can see the retraction by CoinDesk in 2020 when Google joined the Hedera Governing Council. You can see the revised title, but the original title can be seen in the link. It's just such an odd strategy to make market commentary on incorrect information that it was Google Cloud and not Google. changed the title to correctly show that Google joined, but not change the assumption from it. So the issue there was, we've had this issue before when Google joined the governing council. CoinDesk published an article in 2020 that was, well, actually, Google hasn't joined the Hedera Governing Council. Google Cloud has joined, and they're just, again, actively piling on Hedera. And literally Google's like, well, no, we joined the Governing Council. So it was really weird. And again, on the latest news, the HBAR bull continues. All I know is that the tokenization of the BlackRock fund was led by Archax. BlackRock was well aware, and not going to make comments on other stuff. Like it's basically trying to spin a story from nothing. Like the story's over. The story is the fund is tokenized, and it's BlackRock's fund, and it's tokenized in a normal way that other funds have been tokenized before. And really, the story that CoinDesk and Telegram are coming up with, they're just coming up with something from nowhere. Also, too, Zepsi tweets out something that I think really clears the air and I think sheds a whole new light on this. And this was the big twist here. This was the big twist on all this kind of drama, right? So this morning, everyone's kind of up in arms about Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, all these types of things. And people are going, well, it's misinformation, or it's this, or it's that, or back and forth. What did they know? What did they not know? All these kinds of things. People are telling CoinDesk and Cointelegraph, like, hey, you're wrong. They actually knew, blah, blah, blah. And it was because, again, CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were just coming across as though they had zero information on any of this, right? And I think that was in a lot of people's minds. Like, oh, they also maybe had zero information about anything that was happening. Well, actually, it turns out that's not true. Zepsi at the HBAR Foundation posted both CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were approached with the press release copy that was approved by BlackRock. Neither decided to publish it. So let's just clarify here. So early last week, before any of this dropped, CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were provided all of the information related to this announcement. That information was approved by BlackRock in email threads. So Cointelegraph and CoinDesk received that information, which is arguably the biggest story in crypto this month, and decided not to publish about that story, and instead decided to reference a tweet from someone with 10,000 followers that somehow things were misinterpreted, not really alluding to what exactly was misinterpreted, and writing a story instead about how HBAR went up and down. So it's one of those things where you look at Cointelegraph and you look at CoinDesk and you go, like, what purpose do these crypto news organizations actually serve? You start to think about the other stuff that they publish. You start to think about the company that owns them. And then you start to think about what their investment activities are. And you start to get hypothetical. And I'll throw something out there, again, completely hypothetical, but if CoinDesk and Cointelegraph were to have seen this news coming, understand there would be price appreciation, and decide to, once things pump, put out negative news to drive price down while opening a short position, would they be doing anything different? I don't know. It just, what Cointelegraph and CoinDesk did with this news, it just makes zero sense, especially when they had access, again, to all of the information they needed about the story, and all of that information being approved by BlackRock. So their article comes across as though they just didn't know anything, when in fact they actually knew everything. And this was something completely different than just a mistake. And also the guy who wrote the article, like, put out like an update on it. And it's just like, just absolute clowns, absolute clowns. I won't say the individual's name that wrote the article. We don't want like a mob on people, but just some of the worst, like, crypto is straight up like the bottom of the barrel of journalism. It's so sad in this industry. The quality of journalism we have, it's nuts. But I will say crypto also has like one of the most flourishing kind of independent news scenes out there. Like we've got my show, we've got the HBAR Bulls show, we've got so many different spaces happening, and then on other networks and all sorts of things and spaces. And that's the plus side. But like, man, some of these publications are just absolutely horrible. The other thing too is, again, I think that some people may say, well, of course, Hedera people are upset about this. But no, it's not. Like this Cointelegraph article and CoinDesk article has not upset Hedera people specifically. It's upset a lot of people on a lot of other networks because it makes you go, well, what announcements did they flub for us? Or like, what announcements are they going to flub in the future? And we have Chris V, who basically is a hardcore Cardano person and, you know, tweets out, you know, a quote of the Archax CEO, right? This is Archax CEO, Graham, specifically stating that BlackRock was aware of this and that these funds are tokenized on Hedera. Like literally just saying like, well, reminder, the story is that these funds are tokenized on Hedera. Like it doesn't matter if BlackRock knew or not. They did, but it doesn't matter. The headline is the fund is tokenized on Hedera. And that's what this individual is referencing, Chris V. And he says, it's surprising how the FUD, bad vibes, envy, and drama from some actors in the Cardano space are spreading on a larger scale, transcending its borders. I've been in Cardano since 2017, but now I believe this Cardano ship has come to the end of a time. So basically he's talking about the fact that you know, that individual, Chris O, and some other people are just like, it's just so weird to see an amazing news story like this in the space just get met with that kind of stuff. And it's not good for Cardano. It's not good for Solana. It's not good for Hedera. Like if there was, you know, if there was something major that happened on another network that positively impacts the industry, like you have to cheerlead, you know, you're in the industry. So it's just kind of weird to see that these hit pieces. And again, I think, you know, we talk about, you know, Hedera being a threat. And I think, you know, a lot of people are threatened by this news. That's all we can take by. So yeah, you've got people on other networks that are not Hedera people that are also not happy about this. And I would say one of the last posts I'll highlight is from Tom Throwbridge. This guy was the original president of Hedera, right? Years and years and years and years ago. He says, he says, instead of cheering for what is an industry-wide moment, Cointelegraph chooses to question the entire story, as if this happened without BlackRock knowing. What a travesty of a publication, right? So that's the original Hedera president that was there in the early days. And it's just so true. It's like Cointelegraph had all the info way ahead of time, vetted by BlackRock, and chose instead to use their publication as a mechanism for the suppression of this network, which I feel Hedera's not alone in that. I think that these publications suppress a lot of networks. And this line of thinking extends far beyond Cointelegraph. It extends to people talk about the cryptocurrency subreddit. People talk about all these different types of things. Again, Hedera Hashgraph is a disruptive technology. A lot of people have a lot of money tied up in other networks, and the revenue on these other networks depends on hidden fees. You cannot hide fees. Well, it's easy to hide fees in a network that has, you know, $2-3 gas fees. But on Hedera, you have nowhere to hide, right? Hedera is just the antithesis of what I feel a lot of people in Web3 are about. And that's the way it should be. You know, we shouldn't be about inefficiencies. We shouldn't be about planned obsolescence. Like, we should be about this stuff. And I think that, you know, Hedera's done something huge. And I think that this suppression is real. I'm the first to be objective about this stuff, but what this has shown me is that there is real, very powerful suppression against the growth of the Hedera network through coordinated hit pieces. And it is only going to get worse. I have bad news for everybody. This kind of stuff is only going to get worse. This isn't going to be the first earth-shattering announcement from Hedera. There will be more, and they're going to be met with resistance. That's just the way that it is. And this is what I'm talking about is it doesn't matter how good Hedera's tech is. It doesn't matter how great the governing council is. It doesn't matter what the price of HBAR is. It doesn't matter what how great the use cases on the network are. Those things will not protect this community or this network from the trials and tribulations that every other network has experienced on their way to the top 5. If you look at the top 5, all those other networks, the top 10, all those other networks have had to wade their way through mud and muck and all sorts of garbage to get there. And so I think that we have to accept that as a community, that this is a disruptive technology. These types of announcements are not going to make everybody happy. And the announcement that make people sad, those people generally have, a lot of followers and can pull a lot of weight. There's a lot of money, right? We have to keep in mind that there are powerful people that if Hedera succeeds ahead of schedule, they will lose a lot of money. It's just the reality of it. So I think that we've talked about a lot with this BlackRock stuff, and I so much appreciate everyone tuning in. We got a bunch of people here. I see Tata, I see Cosmic listening, I see Bushido, I see Cisco, I see Slaw, I see Paul. I'm just scrolling through. I see a bunch of cool people. It's so great to see everybody, especially on a day like today. This is just big news. And I think that what I want to do, I want to pull back now because we have a few other stories to talk about to wrap up the show. But I wanted to just pull back here a minute and just kind of like digest this, because we have to keep in mind this is a developing story. I don't think that the cycle on this is going to die out. It's clear that this news story is on its own generating more news. That's a great sign. All news is good news. All attention is good attention. The other side of me, when I see articles like Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, these hit pieces, people are talking about HBAR, right? Ask anybody on Solana if they had ever seen a bad article about Solana in the early days, and if that dissuaded them from jumping onto Solana, right? People are like, let me put it this way. Maybe this is an extreme example. People are more likely to go and check out a network that thousands of people are saying is garbage than a network that nobody's talking about at all. There's also that side to it. Would you rather nobody be talking about the network, or would you rather everybody be talking about the network? It's that simple in this narrative-driven crypto space, fast-paced world. They can say Hedera is the worst network in the world, and it's this, it's that, blah, 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 blah. These people are going to go. They're going to open up the chart. They're going to see crazy price action, and they're going to buy some HBAR. It's that simple. You can talk about the semantics of Hedera and HBAR and all that kind of stuff till you're blue in the face, but that's the way it is. And I think that also this is a learning opportunity for the Hedera ecosystem. And like I said in the beginning of this, and I want to hit this again because I think it's so important. The HBAR Foundation, Swirlds Labs, Hedera need to be commended for their new, fresh approach on an event like this. In the minutes and hours, and again, this didn't happen before. In the minutes and hours after this announcement, the community was asking for information and asking questions. And in real time, high-level representatives from the foundation, from Swirlds Labs, from Hedera were responding and providing information in real time as it was happening in the minutes after the news came out. And to me, that workflow, that strategy that we have not really seen in the space before, and I think the lack of that has been a key criticism levied by the community against Hedera and Swirls and the foundation. Different this time around. And I think that without that, now understanding the resistance and hit pieces that come out in CoinDesk and Cointelegraph and the haters and all that kind of stuff, we would not, this news would have not survived if that strategy was not executed in the way that it was. Again, to stress it, literally the minutes after the news was published, there was direct one-on-one communication, top to bottom, from the community to the people at the foundation and Swirls, publicly on X, in DMs, in group chats. Literally, in a Discord, I saw an HBAR Foundation representative essentially crowdsource one of the tweets with the community and help write it. Like, the strategy that was put in place for this news push was completely different from what we've seen from the HBAR Foundation, Hedera, and Swirls Labs previously. The community was in the loop. The community was on the inside. It felt like Christian. It felt like Zepsi. It felt like Shane. It felt like all these folks were firing from the hip. They weren't asking permission. They were just throwing out information to people. Zepsi was like, yeah, I'm in emails with BlackRock right now. You know, and even the response from the CEO of Archax, right? Responding with detailed information, getting right into the conversations, providing information with like a level of professionalism that's incredible to see. This was, I think, the Hedera ecosystem at the best it's ever been. Again, despite being a little rough around the edges from the bull market, despite getting sidetracked with semantics and this and that, I think that from top to bottom, everybody's got to be commended for how they're handling this news rollout and ultimately supporting the success of this. So I want to give another round of applause to the suits. I think this was a great job. Very different. I think more of this. I think more intense than this. I think that there's pathways to bring the community in even earlier to this stuff, because it's so clear the benefit that brings to announcements like this, keeping people in the loop in the Hedera community. Because if everybody's on the same page, then we can tackle anything head on together as a community. And I really hope that those folks at the foundation, at Hedera, at Swirls Labs are kind of sitting going like, that was different. That was good. You know, the Hedera community is a crazy resource for us to tap into. You know, I hope that it's kind of hit them how powerful that is when we all get together. And remember that sometimes accuracy is not the most important thing a lot of times. I'm sorry to say. Sometimes that gets sorted out, but in the heat of the moment, in this industry, you have to move. You have to have momentum. You have to have eyeballs. You have to have attention. You have to have a great story. You have to have energy, and you have to have people online all the time in the thousands, like an army of H-barbarians. We had all those ingredients, and now we're seeing something happen. And yeah, I think, you know, my thoughts on the BlackRock thing, like I said, this is, I can definitely say this is what I was speaking, you know, about my show, episode 118, that was late March 28th, where I shared, you know, I'd been contacted by an insider source in the ecosystem that's privy to these types of things. They shared information with me. One of these things was some major stuff happening in April. I'm going to conclude that this is what that source was referring to and speaks to the credibility of that source. And I'm going to stay, you know, closely watching the rest of the stuff. You know, I think that everyone now references the monster use case in Q3 that my source shared with me. So we'll have to see, but this makes me feel optimistic. And, you know, I don't think this is the big moment. I don't think this is. I think this is a call to action for this community to think bigger and be much more expansive. right? This isn't just another news item. This is the start of something new. Things feel different. The tectonic plates are shifting. So I think what a lot of people should do with this is they should really open up their brains, and they should really think as big as they possibly can right now in the Hedera ecosystem. Another quick shout out. Is that my dog snoring in the background? I wonder. I wish my microphone could reach over to her. That's hilarious. For folks listening in Twitter Spaces. That's my dog. She's snoring up a storm. I put her to sleep. She's not, my dog isn't huge into crypto, to be honest with you. She was posting a little bit of FUD earlier today. I had to have a talk with her. But yeah, huge shout out to supporters. Basically, show has no advertisements, no sponsors, just me and maybe some friends that stop by to chat. And people send HBAR to a wallet, and I sell that HBAR and I buy stuff for the show to make the show as awesome as it can be. We're going to be going full live video with my computer screen and all that kind of good stuff. The same things you see on the recording very soon. But yeah, huge shout out to supporters. So